Welcome back to another episode of Muse where we talk about anything creative. We have your host, Ezra.
And I see, man. Today we have a guest. Who we with today?
Well, today I'm a realtor, so I'll say Camille.
But what else would you say? Like your music? Your music
My
name?
pseudonym is CJ, so Camille CJ Scott.
Okay, and tell us about yourself. Like what type of work do you do? Like within art and all
How can we find you?
So you can find me on pretty much all social platforms, e.reportre. And my artist page is C.JAIOO. I'm a musician, all around just artist. I wouldn't say a singer or rapper or anything like that. I'm just, a creative artist, and I'm also a realtor.
Okay, dope. Okay. And it's funny the way you introduce yourself, because today we're talking about identity, and that definitely speaks about that a lot. So.
Yeah.
So I want to first define what is identity. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you feel like identity is to you?
I think identity is like your essence, like who you are at the core.
Yeah.
I feel like only you and God know what your true identity really is.
That's a fact.
Yeah, that's what I would define identity as.
Okay, because I know, for me, I have a hard time finding, or I guess holding on to my identity. So I know, going through being an artist is you have to do a bunch of different jobs and stuff to support yourself as an artist. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes you can get lost in that.
Yeah.
And you might be like, oh damn, what am I really? What
was that term you were saying earlier? Is it code switching? Is that
code switching?
Switching?
So that's another thing. I feel that's mainly a word I feel was came up with by Black people, to be honest. Because I don't think any other type of people, culture use code switching.
I think that maybe that's mainly a Black thing, but I do think we all code switch.
To a degree, who came up with it really?
But Black people definitely did come up with it.
Where do you think it derives from?
I guess like a bad word, being an Uncle Tom. Some people just when they're in a community, they're one way, but when they're somewhere else, they might be down the community or be a very, very distant. Or whatnot. I'm not really sure though where it definitely comes from though.
Yeah, I mean, when you said it to me initially, I'm thinking okay, so we're here at my Towson office. This is where I do all of my real estate business. And being here in this environment is a lot different than, I don't know, being somewhere else where there's more people that look like me.
Yeah.
And that could be age, that could be, race. And when
experience.
And experience. So when I walk in here, I might not go to my broker and say, yo, what's up?
Facts.
What's up, big homie? I might not do that. That's a code switch. But in reality, I have to still convey that same type of love, but in a more professional manner. Exactly. And sometimes I think code switching came from Black people assuming that professionalism equates to being Caucasian.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely...
When they say you're speaking white. Or,
right.
Being
proper or enunciation is just only associated with being Caucasian.
Yeah.
That's not the truth. That's just a professional individual.
100%.
You know?
I think a lot of that comes from Eurocentric standards. Not just beauty standards, but just standards in general where only white people have that ability to be professional. That's the pinnacle of success. For example, being Black, a Black guy, the pinnacle of success is getting with a white woman, that. For a lot of people, not me, but for a lot of other people, that's what they think or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that plays a role. But I know Ezra want to say something. I also want to say this as well, is that you can code switch the opposite way too.
Sure.
Because for example, somebody like me, I'm not from no type of I want to say hard community or anything, but I know people that come from my community that when they come to let's say an inner city Black community, they start acting way that they never really act a day in their life. So personally I feel as though you can code switch in both ways, and I think a lot of that comes from a form of insecurity in yourself, and you don't really, and you believe that you gotta be something else to fit in.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically the same thing I was gonna say, but ultimately I feel there's a lot more avenues where it's the word we're using is code switching, but a lot of times it's just adapting to your environment. Yeah. I know, for instance, when I'm going someplace and I want to make connections, I may act a little differently versus when I'm hanging out with homeboys versus when I'm going to an art event where I want to make connections, but it's something that I'm more closer to my heart. Yeah. Whereas for instance, I might be going to Detroit this summer to go to Blackout Walls, which is a mural festival for for black artists, and when I go there, it's like I'm probably gonna act differently in meeting these artists versus where if I was having an art show with a bunch of other artists. So it's like, you know, you kind of gotta know, like, I feel like it is a good trait to adapt. So you kind of gotta know which environment, you know, which character works in which environment, but still have that part of you that's authentically you.
Well, I think it's a silver lining between adaptability and code switching.
That's
exactly.
what I was really ready to say as well.
It's really blurred there. I think you only know when you're adapting versus if you're code switching.
Yeah.
I can tell you multiple instances where I code switched. And I can tell you other instances where I was just like, I had to make sure I adapt to this environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's just appropriate for this environment.
Yeah.
I think that code switching, I mean, because today's topic is about identity, I think a lot of times they have to do more about race. And, like, race plays a pivotal factor, as well as it's a way of hiding your identity or change your identity, blend in.
Yeah.
Just because you're adapting to your environment and you might not feel fully comfortable. It might not feel though you can, you know, might do things, because I don't like to sing right around my mom that act around my friends.
Yeah.
You know, so you're just respecting where you're at right now, and then, you know, getting a grasp of how much you can show.
Yeah.
And you might not want to show everything.
But
You know?
I want to bring it back for a second. So when you introduce yourself at first, you're like saying, like, "Oh, today I'm a realtor today," right? When you're in the music scene, for instance, do you introduce yourself as a realtor?
No, I say my name is CJ.
Okay, so
And then
I'm curious though.
What?
I'm curious is like when overall like are like your friends or families, like what do you think is your, like, I guess your source identity? What is something that you feel like is authentically Camille?
I've been called this, and it was used as a derogatory term, but I like it. I
don't know what this word's ready to be now.
Really
okay, I was called a professional before, because I can be very calculated. I think that who I am at the core is just a genuine executor. Like,
I like that.
So whatever I'm doing, that's who I am. It doesn't matter if I got my realtor hat on. It doesn't matter if I have my musician hat on. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be really authentic throughout the process, and I'm going to execute it.
I love that.
I feel you.
And that's like a big part of your identity.
Yes.
Somebody that can execute and is like rise to the occasion always.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I feel that. I mean, honestly, I definitely can relate to that. Like, regardless if it's like my grandma always told me to do everything to the best of your ability, right? So regardless if it's like shooting for this and like figuring out, what are we going to talk about, or if it's just like making sure we're trying to get, like, you know, clips in, or making sure that I'm getting this assignment done, whether it's for like a small company, whether it's for a friend, or whether it's for myself, or a big company. It's like I always view, even like me working at Trader Joe's as a sign maker, I'm gonna make sure that I get that job done well, right? Because that just aligns with my beliefs. You know?
And it says volumes. It speaks volumes about your character.
Exactly.
And my mom will always tell us, "Don't half behind nothing."
Right.
If you're going to do it, finish it off.
I love that.
Don't half behind. She would never cuss. She would always say, "Don't half behind." I'm like, "All right, mom." So it's like that kind of just stuck with me.
Exactly. I think, you know, when it comes to identity, you know, some people hold their character very close, you know, their morals and what they believe in very close to their identity. And some people like, bro, this don't align with me. This don't align with me as an artist. This don't align with me as a person. I'm not doing it. You know, like, I know we talked about this before. You know, you was talking about how you was getting into becoming a real estate agent. And you was talking about how, like, you know, you want to make money. You want to be able to support yourself. And I want to know, like, when you decided to be a real estate agent, did you try to find something that aligned with who you are as a person and your identity? Or was this just something that you said, oh, bro, I can do this for now?
The first one. I was getting more into financial literacy. And I think that is a part of me forever. I mean, it should be a part of any individual, because you don't want to have to survive in this life. You're meant to thrive.
Exactly.
You know, so I decided to dabble in the stock market. I was like, this ain't my thing. I was like, I'm just gonna sell my portfolio. I ain't dealing with that.
Right.
Then I just came to this conclusion after doing more studying that, you know, real estate is the world's currency, because the earth is limited, but the amount of people that are on the earth grows exponentially. So that's how you sell something. It's about supply and demand. The supply of earth is limited. But the demand is always going to grow. Everybody needs somewhere to lay their heads at night. The stock market is intangible. However, the earth is tangible. And most of the wars that we see on our planet are over land.
That's a fact.
So I'm like, okay, this seems to be like the most valuable, most precious thing in our life is the planet. So that, for me, like, okay, if I want to sell something, that makes sense. Not only that, being that we're black and we have an understanding of the wealth, the generational wealth gap, it's caused by real estate.
That's a fact.
So I need to put myself in a position where I can be financially stable and then also help my brothers and sisters have an understanding how they can achieve that. So that was really what motivated me at first, and that's what motivates me every day.
I like when you're talking about like ownership. You know, a lot of people, especially in, I want to say, low class environments and like communities, they don't really have ownership. And when you look at, you know, like the way America was started, you know, it was definitely
the American dream.
Yeah, but it was definitely like a white people and like other like more privileged people, not just white people, had a head start.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now it's very difficult because like where the wealth is within that ownership.
Yeah.
You know, we have to work a lot harder to now get there because that house that was at once maybe like I'm playing around like $3 and now $3 million. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I feel like a lot of it is just like you gotta think about it. It's like, all right, a lot of times people's like, oh, you think too much about history. It's too like that's too far back. It doesn't really affect anything. But when you think about it, it's like, all right, what happens if you're born in a community where it's like your family doesn't make that much money, your neighbors don't make that much money, the opportunities are very limited, right? And or maybe this is even back where it's just like things are segregated and you can't, and that's which is not even that far ago. Yeah, long ago. Right. Things are segregated and you can't get this certain job, you can't get this opportunity. Okay, you're like, okay, but that's far back or whatever. Not even that far back, but then when you think about it, it's like, okay, what happens to the next generation born? Yeah, they're gonna still be in that situation. That's what they're around.
But that's not necessarily.
Well, but this is what I'm saying. Like you could, but that's what I'm saying. You could push through and grow and like figure out a way around it. Yeah. But it's not as easy. It's not a given.
Nobody
it's a hard challenge.
It's a challenge.
And I feel like a lot of times what people end up with is they don't have the mental, I guess, strength to push through and change their change their future, but I'm trying to think of trajectory. Yeah. Like change the trajectory because it's just like you grow up, you're a product of your environment. You know, you grow up and then you're just like, okay, my family wasn't well, I'm gonna make ends meet and make things work, and then boom, now you have your kids, and what happens is that you have to realize that someone has to be the one to step out and be that person to change your bloodline trajectory, right? And just because you're not the one, just because you think you just gotta follow what your family does, someone else is gonna do it later on. It's not always true. Like you have to be the one, especially. So I think that's a big thing that people kind of forget. This like someone's gonna do it,
right? Yeah, somebody's got to do it. Yeah. I think that was my conclusion. Like I'm not going. I love my parents did everything humanly possible, and that they knew in terms of nurturing me. But I think that, you know, our culture has a tendency, like you said, to just get comfortable and get complacent and just be like, and it's not, there's nothing wrong with understanding yourself and understanding maybe what you're comfortable doing and what you're uncomfortable doing. Like, I use this analogy all the time. I don't know anyone that doesn't want a six-pack. Right. I think majority of people want a six-pack.
I mean, that must be winning.
I mean, just majority. Most of the people I've met in my lifetime.
Majority of people want a healthy body.
They want a healthy body, but not everybody's willing to do what it takes to have a healthy body. And people, it's easy to say, well, we live in America. They put chemicals in the food. It's easy to say that. It's harder to say, I want change in my life, so I'm going to make it happen.
I mean, that also relates to, like, the arts. It's just like, a lot of people is like, oh, I want to be this artist. I want to have this gallery lifestyle. I want to have this baller lifestyle as an artist or as a rapper or as an athlete. But don't put the work in to get there. Right. And that's the biggest problem is like a lot of people have that mentality where it's just like if you just believe you're going to get there, you're gonna get there, but it's like you also gotta put the work in.
Yeah, I think the belief and the faith in yourself is half of the battle.
You have to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you have to have it.
You gotta wake up. You gotta
do it.
You
gotta do it.
For sure.
You gotta push.
But yeah, like with identity, like how you was just talking about, when it came down to like people just saying they want to have this, they want to have that, you know, they're born to these circumstances or whatnot. I think a lot of people they become a product of their environment, and that's their identity.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, like I was watching this Tank interview, and, you know, he's talking about, you know, from the city, you know, you got to talk a certain way, you got to be this way, or you won't get tried and stuff like that. And I feel as though, like, when you know, like, but you take that person out of that place, out of their environment, they identify completely different, and they get to fully be able to be themselves. And I think that a lot of times we got people living in a false identity. And I feel as though that is very pivotal to step back and see what are those things you enjoy, what are those things you like, what type of things you want to create, who are you as a person, what are your morals, what do you believe in, and identify with those things. But I think a lot of people just, they're born into this environment, and they just allow that environment to define them.
You know what? I feel like if you're not you and you don't know how to adapt, you're always going to be tried. Like, think about it. Like, if you are in, like, say, all right, you're in a realtor business. If you don't really know your stuff and you don't know what you're doing and you're just, like, kind of half behind it, you know what I'm saying? Just, you're going to get tried. You're going to be like, oh, like, you're not going to get as much respect. So, granted, it's not the same as in, like, you know, like if you born in the hood or whatever, you have those issues, and versus, you know, a business side of it, but like even like in music and art and everything, if you're not like sure of who you are and not authentically yourself and knowing like doesn't and you know the rules and you know how to navigate through that, you're gonna get tried in everything.
Well, I would definitely say, back to your point about a false identity, I think that, I mean, who could tell someone that they are conveying a false identity? I think those people that are a product of their environment are in an unevolved identity, because that is still a part of who you are regardless. You can't go back and change your past and change your childhood. I think that, you know, it takes time for you to realize the difference between your past and who you see yourself as in the future. It's two different things. And then understanding that, okay, if I see myself as a person who has a healthy body, maybe a person who has a six-pack, I need to start doing those things that someone who has a six-pack does. And that's the difference between being a product of, okay, well, I was, you know, raised in a household where we ate McDonald's 2-3 times a week. Now I'm not that person because I don't see myself as that person in the future. And I think that's really a huge difference. And I was telling my students all the time, like, look, I know you want to be nice. I know you want to play. I know you want to be suave on the keys and on the drums. However, you're never going to be confident when you step into these spaces if you don't discipline yourself behind closed doors. That's when you're tried. You're not even really tried by others. What happens is you're tried by yourself mentally. You don't trust yourself because you didn't prepare. So that is obvious to others. It's on you. They see your lack of confidence. So then that's when people question it. Because you don't trust yourself.
Let me say something real quick. I want to push against that just a little bit, just because I definitely agree with everything you said, for sure. But I feel that, like, I think everybody has their own story, and I think there's a lot of different stories and why people's not living their full, evolved self. And I think that a lot of that, why I would say, like, is a lack thereof or a fake identity, because, you know, you got some people believe they can't be that. You know, they want to be that, they want to do that, they want to do all these things, but they just can't because they wasn't born into that household. They're not the right race. They don't got the right voice. They're not the right. They don't look attractive, or whatever it is. They just feel as though that they have a lot of things that make them can't fully live out their dreams and their passion and their goals, and they can't identify with who they are as a person. I know people that want to do music, and like, oh, dude, I can't do music because I don't look like that. I know people that want to be art, but I can't make art because, you know, I don't really talk like that. I don't think I'll fit in that community. And I was just thinking about this, you know, just a while back. I want to say was, when you live fully in your true identity, that you know is true to you, and God knows it's true to you, you feel completely free. Because when you're free in your identity, you know you're not flaunting, you're not flagging, you're just doing what you do for you, and it makes complete sense, and you feel comfortable in growing in that.
Another thing, though, is I feel like to identify that you are living that fake identity is being uncomfortable in your own skin. Like, I realize, like, if you are in your house and you're doing, like, say you're, like, I don't know, watching TV and eating potato chips, granted, you can do that. Like, that's fine. Like, I did that a couple times.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I feel uncomfortable in that moment, like, where I'm like, damn, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
You know you're not doing something right.
Yeah.
Like, because it's just like, you know that you're not balancing yourself. Exactly. Like, you have to be like, you know you're not putting the work in other places.
Right.
Like, obviously, I think living, like, I know Nasib tells me this a lot about living a balanced life.
Yeah.
Like, me personally, there was a time where I didn't live a balanced life, and I was just honed into my arts, and I drew like 8 to 12 hours every day, and I was just in there.
That's
but
insane.
I got better. But then again, I took it back a notch and realized, okay, I got to take care of my health because I felt uncomfortable. I was like, yeah, I'm fully doing this art thing. I love art, but I was doing it to the point where I felt uncomfortable because I was like, I'm not balancing my life.
Yeah.
So that's when I started, adding in things like getting healthy again, like biking or working out, whatever. Making sure I'm eating more, making sure I'm sleeping more, making sure all those things make me comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like just because you are indulging in your in the craft that you want to do or indulging in the lifestyle and working super hard, that doesn't mean that can also be negative.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
no, you won't be fully fulfilled if you're not trying to at least achieve balance. I don't think there's any human that's going to achieve just like a perfect balance in their life. But that was, to your point, why I decided to have a dual career because I didn't feel balanced. Like you said, I got to that point where I'm, working long shifts, working at Domino's, stretching pizzas for 5 hours straight, and then I'm coming home and then working in the studio for 5 hours, not sleeping, not resting, and then I'm not making any money. I'm broke as hell. It's just like, this is not who I see myself as in the future, and I know I have much more potential. And I think some people do, limit themselves and their potential to what they think they don't have.
Yeah.
But
I mean, a lot of times it's fear. Like,
not even that. When he
too.
was saying people think they have a lack of resources.
Yeah.
I was talking to this Caucasian woman, so I don't know why. I was probably like 14. I was working at this local shop called Hamilton. And I just came to the conclusion, look, Caucasian people got money. I'm going to start asking them questions about money. So I told the lady my situation, and she said something to me that I could not accept at the time because it came from the lips of a Caucasian woman, but it was truth. And she said, all that you have is all that you need. I'm like, of course you could say that. Of course a Caucasian woman could say, all you got is all you need. Like, some little black girl. But it was very true.
That's
and
actually a good, like
that when you live by that, you will get it done by any means necessary, and you will network with people. You will find ways to get it done instead of being like, man.
Right.
Like I don't. Nobody in my family is a realtor. Nobody in my family. I didn't have somebody show me and hold my hand. I was just like, okay, people out here are doing this. I'm going to learn how to do this. So,
but quick response to that though. I realized a lot of people would have a hard time taking that at that time is because maybe their values are not aligned. Where a lot of people may think that, all I have is what I need. I need money. But they're discrediting all the stuff they have naturally, like their skills, their mindset, their work ethic.
God gave you all you need already.
Exactly. So it's like maybe those people that are born with those certain means, that's probably what they needed to get to the lifestyle they wanted because they don't have those other things. Yeah. So not saying that everyone, but that's why I think it was probably hard to take at that time because the values that you have, you didn't view
my personal
as
development wasn't
yet.
there.
Exactly.
I had a broke mentality, and I tell people this all the time. Like, someone could make $20,000 a year and not be broke. Someone could make $70,000 a year and be broke because their mentality. If you take that $20,000 and you make investments with half of the money, you have expenses, that's cool. You can make $70,000 a year, have $20,000 in expenses, and spend $50,000 flexing. So it's just a mentality, and it's also just a slave mentality for a young black man or a young black woman to think that, me being professional is Caucasian. That's because that's what we were fed purposely. We were fed to think that we are illiterate. We were fed to think that you could never be in a professional setting. And a black woman, when you're in a professional setting, you're only professional when your hair is straight, or only professional when your hair is, and if you have a weave. That's what we were fed to think. So it's a slave mentality for me to think that I don't have enough.
I like that. I was ready to say that. I mean, you just hit that put that period on there. I think a lot of people believe they just don't have enough. You
have enough.
Who they are, they're just not enough, and they need to get those big chains. They need to get that nice car, and to feel like they're somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day, you know, like you said, people can make $1 million still living check to check.
Yeah.
You know,
'Cause
a lot of rappers do that. It's like
well,
it's the
right here is
mentality.
Yeah, it's your mind, and you
Yeah.
gotta understand that we were created by God, who is the supplier and creator of everything.
Yeah.
So if God is within you, you have pretty much anything you need. You can have it.
Facts.
But you still have to do your part, and you still have to grow mentally enough to realize, like, oh, wait a minute. All that I have is all that I need.
That's a fact.
I can make something work with this.
But
you know?
all you have is all you need, and that's a definitely fact. And then like looking within yourself, like you talking about
Yeah.
looking within the God within you,
Yeah.
God the creator, he
Yeah.
created you, he created your ability, he created your gifts.
Yeah.
All those things is gonna guide you towards, you know, everything that's supposed to be for
Yes.
you. And like honestly, it's like that creator spirit and like
Yeah.
that, you know, that within us, and like that will direct you also to having the
Yeah.
money that you need to be
Yeah.
able to support, you know, the stuff that you love to do and be able to support your gifts.
Yeah.
And like you didn't feel out of body coming into real estate and being a good real estate agent as well.
Yeah.
And you feel though like you don't got to convince yourself that you're doing something right, because you
Right.
know you are.
Right.
And I feel though when you have to convince yourself that you're doing something right, you know you're doing something wrong.
Right.
Yeah, it's that uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
Like if you're uncomfortable in your skin.
You know.
You're not doing something
You
right.
know. Yeah. And you got to be, you know, you have to have godly wisdom in your life, and you have to be guided by God. You can't be guided by others, because nobody can tell you how to live your life. It could be a realtor in my family, but my life is different from theirs. So I can't listen to, you can't really take but so much advice, and you have to be mindful who you take advice from. Because like I have people in my life where they're not in the financial position that I see myself at their age. So I can only take but so much advice from this person, and not to not in a negative way, like, yo, you're not at where I want. But it's just like, bro, if you're not where I see myself at 30, at 40, how much advice, how much financial advice? I might be able to take some spiritual advice from this person, but you got to be mindful what you take in. My step pop always tell me, eat the meat, spit out the bones, because you got to be able to, when that Caucasian lady said that to me, I have to get over the fact that it's in my head that I believe that, oh, she has no right to say that to me.
Yeah.
I have to get over that and listen and really be like, huh,
You can
that
learn
actually
from-
makes sense.
You can learn from everything.
You can
Yeah.
learn.
You can
You
learn
can
from
learn
everything.
things when you humble.
Yeah.
And when you listen to God and allow God to guide you.
Honestly. And I was
You
ready
know?
to say, like, you know, you can learn from anybody. You can learn from a bum on the street.
You can.
But whatever you heard, whatever type of wisdom you got, you know,
Yeah.
that they gave to you, you just pray on it to see
Yeah.
that it resonate with you.
Right.
And if it does, you keep it.
Right.
If it don't, you let it go.
But like I said, like
If it doesn't apply, let it fly.
I said a couple times, like everyone has their own journey,
Yeah.
and everyone has their own, like, I guess, problems they have to give, because no one's the same person.
No.
So in the end of the day, it's like, just like you said, like you can always learn from everybody, because once again, since no one's the same person, it's just like everyone has different viewpoints
Right.
that are valuable,
Right.
because maybe that's like, you know, like you said, my grandma, you know, lived her life always working hard no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Like the thing when your pop said, like, you know,
Yeah.
eat the meat, spit out the bones.
Yeah.
Those are both very helpful, and they're
Yeah.
actually also very different
Right.
advice, but they're both very helpful. So I think it's definitely good to go through life learning from as many people as you can,
Yeah.
in terms of like how to fortify your mind, because
Yeah.
fortifying your mind is the most important thing you can do, and that's your strongest tool you
That's
have.
our greatest tool.
So it's like,
Yeah.
that's why it's like a lot of times, you know, like you said, some advice you don't want to take is because they're telling you how to live your life and how to, like, to do this, to do that, trying to direct you what to do,
Yeah.
versus how to fortify your mind.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I have a question. So when it comes to like identity, you know, we develop labels that describes how we want to describe ourselves. So do you think it's more freeing to have more labels? And because, for example, you broke it down. You said, "Oh, I'm not a rapper. I'm not a singer." But you know, I know like Chris Brown. Chris Brown can rap, sing, dance. And I think all
That
those
man is-
things are
he's
part
an
of his identity.
Yeah.
Identity that allows him, you know, to fully feel free in his truth. But do you think it's better to have more labels for you, or less labels, or just more very concise, like less labels but very concise labels that describes who you are?
Okay. I don't want to take ownership of OCD, but it's something that it's a challenge for me that I have. It's a condition that I have that I've been battling. So that aspect of myself is like, I love labels. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just put labels on everything. But the other part of me is like, labels cause, I just feel like turmoil.
In boxes.
Yeah, boxes and turmoil. Like, I don't think that us as human could go through life without labels, because it just helps us in terms of organization. And we analyze things. We just do it. We just put a label on something. But I do know how a label could really be detrimental to something. Yeah. You know, like religion, for instance. There are many different religions. And my philosophy of religion is that, you know, we all, you know, we have a God, and if you believe in God, we all pretty much know the same God. We just call it something different. As the same as saying, like, okay, well, we say brown in English, but if you're Spanish speaking, you say marron. But we all know it's brown. Yeah. So that's how I look at religion. And when you start labeling things, and then those labels get labels, and then those labels get labels, it gets really messy. But then if there weren't any labels, it will also be messy.
Yeah. I feel like another part that's limited about labels is that a lot of people have the problem where it's like, once you label yourself, it's like, damn, I can't do this because I'm already this, and it's like a mind blocker. And that's why, I mean, I would say that's my biggest structure. I mean, biggest problem is because I'm a list person. I'm list oriented. Like, I write down my life plan over and over and over again. I want to do this, this, and this. And those labels right there kind of make me say, damn, I don't know if I have time for this because I already do this and this and this. Yeah. And I had to set like a problem where it's like, does this need separation? Should this be together? Should I put like, or is this going to mess up what the identity is of where I'm seen as to communicate to get those people to support what I do? So that's why I felt like I had an issue with being diverse because I had a problem where I thought that to be successful, you can't be diverse. You have to be like. Well,
that's what they tell you.
Boom.
They say pick a niche.
Right.
Everybody says pick a niche, which I think is good.
It's good
for certain things.
But it also depends on like the niche. I guess what's the word? Diameter. It's just like, I feel like, for instance, I'm an artist. I'm a creative. Yeah. Right. My mentor told me when people introduce him, people be like, "Oh, this is a muralist," and Vic would like respectfully correct them. And because he makes murals, but he respectfully correct them and say he's an artist because he designs, like he paints murals, he does fine art. Yeah. You know, same thing. Like I do a bunch of different things too, so I just say I'm a creative. Right. And I feel like obviously when you meet certain people and when you're in certain environments, you could be like, "Oh, I'm a creative," and that's how you introduce yourself. My name is Ezra Kumbo. I'm a creative. But say this is a meeting about this, then you can start getting to like,
it depends on the environment.
I can do this,
right?
Because this is what I want to do for you,
right?
So it's just like you have to know how to introduce yourself and how to appeal to those people.
Even with Tim, like when y'all went out there, he's like, because he asked me, you know, what they charge. I'm like, I don't know, like, I just went to school with these guys. I don't know. But when you meeting him, you may not say I don't charge anything. You may say, it depends on what you're looking to do.
Exactly.
Because if we do these other things.
I'm not, like for instance,
I'm not just a podcast.
I'll give you a rundown. Like for instance, it would be like, this right here is like this is the podcast we're doing with other creatives just to share that this that and the third. Right. I also do freelance this and this and if you're looking for this, I could do this for you. Right. You know what I'm saying? So there's different ways to go about that. Yeah. It's just like if you did a mural and someone's like, "Oh, so you're a muralist, you do murals?" Like, "Oh yeah, I do. I do a bunch of murals. You can check out my website. I also have like, you know, fine art design, whatever it is." So it's just like you gotta kind of know how to know where to put people.
You have to tie it in, and that's what you were asking me earlier. Like when I go to like, you know, creative spaces as a musician, how do I introduce myself? I always say my pseudonym because that's the environment that I'm in. Also, being that I'm an agent, I'm not. People always say you gotta sell yourself, and I don't live by that philosophy because I truly believe I have a service that can help someone. Yeah. So I'm not pulling up to my gigs. Yo, who need to buy a house? Who trying to sell? You try to sell a house? But if I listen attentively and I hear that there's a need, I can let them know, hey, do you know I'm also a realtor? Yeah, I disclose such and so.
Yeah, it's
then
like
that's when
saying
you
selling
segue
yourself
in
versus
an inappropriate place.
Yeah.
You know, you got to do it, and if you always are trying to sell yourself, you're going to come off in a negative way that people don't like. People don't like to be sold. People like to be helped, and they like to feel like you are offering them a service that they need.
There's a difference between selling yourself and sharing yourself.
Right.
Yeah, sharing. I'm just letting you know. Look, if it ever, you said you're trying to rent. I do it. Yeah, I have renters. Yeah, I could do that. I would love to do that. You know, not like, yo, if you know anybody, let them know. Which sometimes you do got to be on that type of tip,
right?
You know,
you're creating a relationship.
Yeah,
but definitely when it comes down to, you know, I was thinking this the whole time I was talking was like when it comes down to like your individual identity for you and identity, like you said, that you sell and that you share.
Yeah,
you know, I think that you should sit with yourself and have a relationship with yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people, they want to like Ezra said earlier. He said, you know, like, okay, when I tell people, I want to tell people I'm this, that, and the third. And okay, but I have to market myself with this. And that's not always the case. Because you can be things for other people. Like, okay, I can offer this for you, but also I'm this for myself.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times people got to understand that when it comes down to your identity, I sit with myself all the time. I'm like, all right, Nasim, what will make you happy? What's your passion? Are you passionate about modeling? Passionate about photography? You're passionate about traveling, hiking? Okay. I don't gotta say, oh, how are you doing? My name's Nasim, I'm a hiker. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not, that's not my profession. That's nothing that I have to share with you. But that is a part of my identity, and that's something that I want to like grow within myself. And I think that when you sit with yourself, when you talk to yourself, you know, I think you said that, you know, I like to say I'm a creative, or Ezra as well said I like to say I'm creative. Me, I like to say I'm a breath of fresh air. You know, that's what my name means. Nasim means a breath of fresh air, but I want to be a breath of fresh air for myself and for other people. And I think when you really sit with yourself, it allows you to have that broad identity that works with you and allows you to discover every aspect of yourself.
But it's a mix, like, lasting off this topic, like it's a mix of knowing how to adapt but also having your identity. So for instance, like you said, like if I go into a meeting that's or if I meet someone that I primarily want to do, like, let's say an album cover for, or let's say like I'm walking to a corporate meeting and I want to do some graphic design work for them. I can still introduce myself. Hey, how you doing? My name is Ezra Cumbo. I'm a creative. I can do wonderful design for you for this product. Whatever it is, it's like you're introducing yourself as like, okay, this I'm an open person to what I do.
Yeah. You give a broad label.
Yeah,
you're just
exactly.
saying like give a broader label than saying like.
But that catches them. That draws them in. That makes them remember you. Yeah. And then now you're with them, and they're in there with you. Like you're talking about, okay, what I can do for you. Right. What can we share?
Right.
How can we grow with each other?
Right.
And this is what I can offer you based off what you need. Yeah. So that's why it's just like there's a difference. There's a difference.
Yeah, the difference between what do you identify for other people and like things that I can do this. I'm a brother as well. That's a part of my identity. You know, at some point I want to be a husband. All these different things. Who I am for my wife is not the same person I am for my business partner. You know, so like I feel as though, you know, labels definitely do help with things, but also knowing where to put those boxes.
Exactly.
I'm this for this, but I'm also this for myself, because at the end of the day, I don't got to share this with the world, but I need to have this for my life, you know? And I got to grow that. Because, you know, sometimes, that's not my identity, you know? I can't learn this new skill. Yes, you should learn that skill for you.
Right.
You don't got to learn it for anybody else.
Right, even if it's just for yourself.
Yeah. And that's when you also got to decide, like, are you learning a skill for money, or are you learning it because you want to learn it? Yeah. And that's when, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I was like, oh, I want to learn how to tattoo, right? Like, I had an interest in tattooing. But it was the biggest interest. The reason why I had that interest was because they said tattooing will make you money. You can do art and it'll make you money. Okay. And I was like, okay, I gotta learn that skill. But there was other skills I wanted to learn that align more with just what I wanted to just learn. If no one saw it, I wouldn't tattoo. No one saw it. I wouldn't care. Yeah. But like, I would definitely still draw.
I think
I would paint.
Something that would kind of like put a bow on this entire topic is understanding that you have to get to that point where you are not driven by money. And this is something that like my pop really taught me when I got my license and I had to decide which brokerage I was going to. You can never be driven by money. You're always going to be in a position that you don't want to be in if you're there for money. Like you said, with the tattooing situation, you want to do it because you enjoy doing it. But let's say you were just there for the money. That would just be a job that you don't like and that you do for the money. So when you get into anything, even if it is for yourself, it can never be about because you're going to make a ton of money. Like even in this business, I have the potential. One of the things that attracted it to me was the fact that I don't have a cap on how much I can make. And I like that because I know I'm hardworking and I can make a lot of money. But I also know that, you know, that comes with a lot. Like I have to wake up. I have to be there. I have to make sure that my business is running. But I'm not in it for the money because I know that, like, if I have a hard time, if I need to focus more, like we just released a project not too long ago, I know, look, my business, I'm going to have to make sure that I show up for that, or I'm going to have to make sure that I allocate more time to this aspect of myself. And I know that that project is not going to give me right now. It's not no instant gratification. I could have the potential to make a lot of money in the future, but art is just one of those things that takes a while to get off the ground. But knowing that and still doing that and still giving 1,000%, that's someone who is driven by just passion and knowing that, like, God is telling me to do this thing. This is what God has gifted me to do. Yeah. I'm not here for the money. I ain't here for the check.
I think that when it comes down to what you're saying, and I say this too, I just jump off what you're saying, like money and everything else that comes with your passion, all that's a byproduct of your life. You know, if I'm diving deep into my creativeness and, you know, my passions, the money's gonna come, but as a byproduct. You gotta understand what the real product is. You know, of course, our main product is following God and what God gifts us with. We're following God's gifts and like His blessings towards us. Everything for us, the house, the car, whatever you're passionate about, the traveling, the vacation, whatever, is gonna be a byproduct of pursuing your gifts and pursuing your passions and pursuing the things that you know you need to pursue within your spirit.
And before we wrap it up, I do want to say, like, once again, it comes down to, like, are you comfortable in your identity? Like I said, like you said, like right there, like when you're waking up and you're working hard to get to those goals because you know you're a hard worker, you didn't feel uncomfortable about doing that because you had your vision, you had that focus on where you want to be. If you were doing that job just for the money, you would start feeling uncomfortable. You wouldn't want to wake up. You wouldn't want to go. And I want everyone to know, like, make sure you find your comfortable. You're comfortable, like what you're comfortable with, being comfortable with your identity, and
you know what? I think a better word than comfortability, because I think people get too comfortable. I wouldn't use comfortable. I would say fulfillment. I would say fulfilled.
Fulfillment.
You want to be fulfilled.
Well, okay. I think what it would be is like to know that you're not in the right spot. You feel uncomfortable. To know you're in the right spot. It's
less of it is discomfort, but it's more so unaligned.
And it's also sorrowness.
It's you want to be in alignment.
I mean, that's what I refer to, because to me, bro, I mean, the way I was raised, like, I could, like, working hard, being tired, being hungry, whatever, is not uncomfortable to me. Uncomfortable for me is when I don't feel comfortable with, like, in my body, with my soul.
But you're not in alignment.
That's exactly.
But also, you don't want to feel complacent.
Right, that's why I said I wouldn't use comfortable, because people get real comfortable. Like you said, that your comfortable level versus his or mine is different. But I think a better word to describe it would be alignment and fulfillment. Because you want to be in alignment. You feel discomforted because you don't want to go to the job. You know what I'm saying? But it's really more so because it's not in alignment with who you're called to be.
True.
Yeah,
it's not really like you said, you could bust out some work. That's not a hard thing for you to do. You grew up that way. You've seen your parents doing it. It's just the fact that you know this is not helping me move in the direction I'm supposed to be in. I'm not in alignment.
You gotta be honest with
yourself.
You
have to be honest. So you want to be in alignment. Anything that you do, it has to be in alignment with God, who God called you to be.
Some people can lie to themselves.
Because I could be
uncomfortable there.
No, I would be. You're not. You can be uncomfortable when you're in alignment. Like I could be. Like yesterday, I busted out a couple hours of work. I got phone calls from angry clients. That's not comfortable. But you know what? But I'm still in alignment.
You know what? You know why it's hard for me is because ultimately, if I have so many deadlines and have so many like projects at hand, and I'm just overloaded, I'm actually happy. Like I actually that doesn't make me uncomfortable. What makes me uncomfortable is when I'm not doing that. Is when I'm not following what. So I guess that's personal for me then, because I essentially thought like a lot of people could relate to that, but I think for me personally, I viewed it as a different mind
I
state.
can agree with both of you guys. I think you guys are looking at comfortability in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
And like that's how you like to communicate what you look for and how you adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you know, like you're saying, you gotta be uncomfortable with not being uncomfortable. You know,
Yeah.
when you learn something new, that can be an uncomfortable
Yeah.
thing. But if you know it's right for you,
Yeah.
you know, you're aligned with it, you're worth overcoming that.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, like both of them are very pivotal for success. You know, hard
Yeah.
work but aligning yourself and being honest and transparent with yourself, like
Yeah.
what is really me. At the end of the day, it's not hard to find what is you. You just
Yeah.
gotta listen.
Yeah.
You know, you can put the paper on the pencil, whatever.
Yeah.
Be like, dude, I love this.
Yeah.
You know, you can play your drum, be like, dude, I love this. You
Right.
know, I can set these cameras and like talk in front of this camera, like, dude, I love this. So it's like,
Right.
I'm being honest. I might not be the best yet. It's a lot of growth that I can do. I might be uncomfortable at times, but at the end of the day, it's like you said, knowing yourself and being aligned with that,
Yeah.
as well as, you know, knowing what is making you have some discomfort and really where that discomfort is coming
Right.
from.
Where is it stemming from?
Yeah, because it can be stemming from like, I don't want to be here because I'm being complacent, and you got to identify that.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was a great episode. Anything else you want to say?
Thank y'all for having me as a guest.
You was
Thank you for
amazing.
coming
Thank you so
on,
much.
like-
You was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, it's the shirt that made me do it. I don't
I don't blame it on the shirt. It's
Wow.
my nice shirt, you know.
It's the shirt.
Yeah.
If you have that, you know, street fashion, you know, more me, I'm more proper.
Well,
Who are you today? What's your identity?
I'm a breath of
I'm
fresh air.
Ezra Cumbo,
Fresh air.
the creative. We have Nassim, Breath of Fresh Air, and we have Camille,
CJ Scott.
that homeboy. Sorry.
CJ Scott. Make sure you guys hit the like, bell icon, subscribe if you're new, as well as leave us a comment and tell us what's some things that, or some ways that you identify and that you have found your identity. We want to know about that. And thank you so much for watching.
And make sure you find your muse.
Find your muse.